Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is Polycrisis Hegelian Dialectic, and also the latest on the war with Russia. So, as I was just starting off, I was making a joke. The wonderful world of the end of the world. Yes, that's my world, is talking about the end of the world. Now, you can look at that and say, well, it's really negative. Or you can look for the time when we step out of time into eternity and we spend time with Jesus. So, depends on whether you want to look down at the mud or whether you want to look up at the stars. And I prefer to look ahead to the positive things. I also understand that going through the negative things is necessary to get to the positive things. So first of all, polycrisis. That was a new word to me about 10 days ago. My guess is it's probably a new word to you. But if you want to understand what in the world is going on, it's a new word. You need to add that to your dictionary because it's very important. We're going to talk about it today. First of all, headline, F5 tornado, as by now you've all heard, 2 miles wide, hit Mississippi. This is an example of polycrisis. So here's the way polycrisis works. They're heading down here to get everybody to comply with them. What is that compliance? They want a new world order. They want to put their man, the Antichrist, on the throne. They want to pull out the mark of the beast. They want to get everybody to bend the knee and take the mark of the beast. How are they going to do that? Well, they do that through crisis. It's called polycrisis or mini crisis. Like in, for example, 2022, we saw crisis. The pandemic and all of this, or the fussing and arguing with DJT and all that. All right, same thing, but there's more of it we've seen in 2023. And then we can rest assured we're going to see more of it in 2024. And so on until finally there'll be so many crises or multiple crises, or the word is polycrisis, until finally we will do what they want us to do. Now, one of the other key things, I didn't exactly know how to put it into my little chart here, but no justice. Remember, part of our Pledge of Allegiance says, and justice for all. We've been saying that since we were children, at least in my generation we did, but we maybe perhaps didn't think of it. Without justice. So the key to making polycrisis work, eventually getting us down here to where we'll accept their new world order, their man, their mark, and all that sort of stuff, is no justice. In other words, we see like a train derailment, but we don't hear anything, and the bad guys were rounded up. Or we see a chocolate factory explode, but we don't hear, or we see food crisis. We see this crisis, that crisis, this crisis, that. But they never find who actually did it. Now, if you think back, over the last 18 months, there's been about 150 food crises, turkeys dying, chicken dying, or all kinds of, you know what I'm talking about. We've covered that. But there was no one found. There was no arrests made. That is polycrisis. Now, let me explain it a little bit deeper. It's called Hegelian Dialectic. And I think his name was Friedrich Hegel, as I recall. He was a German philosopher, and he's the guy that came up with this. And this is called the way to change society. In other words, if you want to change the way people talk, change the way they think, then it has to be done in stages. This is explaining those stages. And I'm going to try my best to try to explain those stages today. Okay, so the first stage here is a thesis. Okay, in other words, this is a crisis. This is some big problem. Then they have to come up with an antithesis, or the solution to the problem. And the solution to the problem then gives them the synthesis. Let's put it this way. The owner of the gas station is not getting enough business. And a large way he makes his business is by fixing flats. So he goes out in several of the roads, all within about a 5 mile radius of his area, and he sprinkles nails out onto the road. And of course, people run over the nails, they get the flats. So by him spreading the nails, that's the synthesis. He caused the problem. They get the flat. They bring in the flat tire, and that puts money in his account. Now, that's a simple way to explain it. But here's what they're really doing today. First, they cause the problem. That problem may be a tornado, a hurricane, a flood, worthless dollars, food shortages, or suitcase nukes. Then, as a result of that, they offer the solution that leads them where they want to go, such as, well, no dollars, no crude oil. Look, if we're going to solve the climate problem, we got to get rid of crude oil. We got to get rid of electricity. Basically, we got to reduce the population. You see, you and I, we are the problem. We are the problem to climate change. At the end of the day, that's what they're saying. And all of these, like, for example, I'm going to get to that. I'll start jumping ahead. I'll keep going. All right, now. Then it brings the synthesis. And the synthesis is eventually they want everybody to worship the mark of the beast. But there's some other things on the way to that. They got to have a world government, a digital currency, a world religion. There's a whole lot of other things. But at the end of the day, that's where it's really heading. Or another way to look at it is he wants to change our Christian worldview to a wrecked Christian worldview to bring in an Antichrist worldview. Or another way to say it, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Or break it and bring it back anew. On the front of Morals and Dogma, which was written by Albert Pike, I had a copy of it before I threw the thing away. It says ordo ab chaos. That's Latin for order out of chaos. Order? What order? A new world order. Chaos? What chaos? A chaos they are creating. That's the Hegelian Dialectic. Now, that ties together with Polycrisis, where it is they're tearing down the old world order or the rules-based order, or what we say, the order based upon biblical principles. They're tearing down that. And then eventually they want to get it to where that there's a no God, a novus ordo seclorum. Contrary to what you're told, if you go to look that up on the internet, novus ordo seclorum does not mean order of the ages. That's a lie. Oh, surely the devil wouldn't lie. Oh, yes. So what does ordo ab chaos mean? Order of chaos. What does novus ordo seclorum mean? It means new order secular. Secular means without God. So they want to first remove God. They want to remove it from our schools, from our businesses, and that's the reason you never, ever hear any, like CNN, they would never say the word Jesus. You say the word Jesus on there and you will get cut off immediately. So first they have to remove the old world order based upon the Bible. Then they bring in the antithesis of no God, and then they say, everybody got to have this God. See how it all fits together? Now, Mississippi, let's go back to the Mississippi tornado. The Mississippi tornado is given an EF4 rating, and it tore a deadly 59-mile path of destruction, weather officials say. Now, specifically, the article says that, and I believe America's under attack. I believe it is scalar wave. I think all of this climate change is happening out here is all scalar wave. The National Weather Service in Jackson said the EF4 rating is what the tornado was given, and it had a top wind between 166 and 200 miles an hour. Well, we've had other tornadoes of the same kind of top speed. That's not the problem. However, here's the problem. It ripped a 59-mile path of destruction. It lasted for over an hour. One report said an hour and 15 minutes. I've never heard of a tornado lasting an hour and 15 minutes. Most of them I remember hitting were on the ground for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Hour and 15 minutes? That's scalar wave. That is evil high technology, probably given to it. Well, no, it was given to us by Nikola Tesla. We know where it came from. It lasted for over an hour and 15 minutes, with a maximum path width of 3/4 of a mile wide. Now think about that. That's not God-made. That's not just a freak of nature. That is an attack on our nation. They're saying over 25 people were killed and dozens were injured in Mississippi. Now, it would be very nice if people in Mississippi was listening to this program. I doubt they are, because nobody wants to hear about Bible prophecy. Nobody wants to hear about Jesus. Nobody wants to hear about the Bible. You know, we want to become a secular nation. We want to fix all of our problems without Jesus, and that's the problem. But if Mississippi people were listening to me, I would say, okay, here's what you do. First of all, you need to have big revival. It's not enough just pray. You got to have big revival. You got to get just about everybody saved and receiving Jesus. And then, of course, you need to start Bible studies. And then you need to spend years studying the Bible. You see the problem already? See, a person doesn't become a Christian with one prayer. It takes years to learn the Bible, to walk with the Lord, to know His voice. But I'll go ahead and tell you, if people from Mississippi are watching, here's your solution. What you do is put on the full armor of God. So you got to do some research, find out what that is. Ephesians 6:12. Put on the full armor of God, put the angels around about you, all the protections, and that takes a while to understand what you're doing. You got to understand who you are, and that you have been given power and authority over serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing by any means shall hurt you. Then what you do is you send out the ministering, protecting, guardian, and warrior angels. You don't send out the warrior angels unless you have been walking close with the Lord for many years, unless you understand your authority and you have a clean life. That doesn't come overnight, sorry to say. But nevertheless, send out the ministering, protecting, guardian, warrior angels specifically to stop the scalar wave attack above your home, your neighbors, and your region. To stop the scalar wave, you pray against the scalar wave attack. I do that when I start hearing, instead of boom, crack, and there's a lightning that I know is Mother Nature or just normal thunder, normal lightning. But when I hear boom, diddy boom, 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 and it just goes on and on and on. There's lightning flashes, but there's not the streaks of lightning. I know that's scalar wave. And as soon as it starts, I go out, raise my hands, I pray against it. And I send out the ministry, protecting, guarding, and warrior angels. As Leslie says, you don't send out the warrior angels unless you know what you're doing. And sad to say, she would probably say, most of you out there don't do that. I'm pretty sure she would say that. But nevertheless, that's what I do. And within a minute or two, all of it stops. The clouds go away within an hour or so. We have a shiny day for the rest of the day. Now, understand, it's not by power, okay? It's not by my power, it's not by my might. It is the mighty name of Jesus. But it's having a clean life, and it's knowing who you are in Christ, and knowing your power and authority. Now, let's go on. So, what it says is folks in Mississippi don't know their power and authority. I'm not saying they're not Christians. They don't know what they're doing. My guess is they probably have not heard the words scalar wave. They don't understand what's really going on, so consequently, they are getting attacked. All right, then let's go to the next article. Philadelphia tells residents to consider bottled water after a chemical spill. more than 800,000 gallons of an acrylic polymer solution leaked into a tributary of the Delaware River. Now, I need to point out that the number one cause of death in emergencies is drinking contaminated water. So one of the most important things you can do for those catastrophes coming up is to make certain that you have a water filter. Boiling water is great to purify if you got a virus or something like that, but it won't. See, the water filters will filter out the virus, but they'll also filter out other things that boiling will not fix. So whether it's a bug, whether it's a poison, whether it is some kind of a chemical that gets in the water, you want to be able to filter that out. This article goes on to say this 800,000 gallons of this acrylic polymer solution is leaked into a source of drinking water for about 14 million people across 4 states. It says a pipe ruptured at the chemical plant, sending 8,100 gallons of water-soluble acrylic polymer into the creek. The assurances from city officials did little to quell a rush to buy bottled water. Now, you remember, Prophet Leslie was told that what is coming, that people will start buying bottled water, but they still are getting sick, some dying from bottled water because I think there was like 14 different places in America that actually are the supply for the people that bottle the water. And I was shocked to find out that many of them are bottling tap water. Yes, it's tap water. In other words, you're not going to be able to count on the tap water either. Now, if it comes from the ground, like in a personal well, if that hasn't been contaminated, then maybe you're okay with that. But still, it's a good idea to have a water filter. Matter of fact, all of my water is all run through a filter. Anyway, so it says, did little to quell the rush to bottled water. So after the videos on social media were shown, local television news also showed residents emptying grocery shelves of bottled water. The spill appeared to result from an equipment failure. Now, you remember, polycrisis is crisis, 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 crisis. We've seen food crisis. We know that there's suitcase nukes heading the way. So you got to get ready. Speaking of that, when a nuclear device is detonated, the dust is finer than powder, and it settles every place. And you cannot avoid breathing it, eating it, getting on you, and then through your skin. The radioactive iodine goes into your body, kills your thyroid, killing you. But there's a simple fix to that. When there's a nuclear event, and it may be just some kind of a leak, maybe a Fukushima type deal, maybe it is suitcase nukes, but the simple fix is to start taking potassium iodide. That fills your thyroid with good iodine, so the bad iodine is not absorbed. And it's like $30 a bottle. Okay, so would you give $30 to save your husband, your wife, your children, your neighbors? Would you give that? Well, sure. The problem is it is hard to find it. And it's actually a gas put into a pill. So what you want to do is store it. I suggest you store it in a Ziploc bag in your freezer, and that'll help it to last as long as possible. You just put it out, and when you go to open it up, the pills are a little bitty, or maybe they've even already evaporated. But if you freeze it, then they're giving you 5 to 8, potentially more for your refrigerator or freeze. I suggest that you freeze it. So here it is. We do have some. I might add we've gone to a lot of trouble and had to pay some big prices to get it, but we do have some potassium iodate pills right now at Prophecy Club. Also, I'd recommend that you go there and get yourself a Berkey water filter. I just checked with the office. The new shipment has arrived, and we have all of them in stock. That's unusual, especially with things like hurricanes and floods. Flood, you need a water filter, okay, because then a lot of times it contaminates the water that is coming out of the pipes. Anyway, the one that I have is this Crown Berkey water filter right down here, and it comes with 6, only I use 8 elements, and I have 8 extra elements, you want to have some extra filters. Be sure and get, if you have a Berkey water filter, be sure and get yourself some extra filters. They don't last forever. Okay, I mean, they do clog up. You have to replace them once in a while. And that depends on just how filthy, dirty the water is. If you're putting some pretty muddy water through there, then you better have some extra filters. I would recommend you get this one at a very, very minimum. You can get that with just two. Matter of fact, you can actually get it with just one filter. I think it comes with two, as I recall. But check. Anyway, you want to get yourself a water filter. Again, the number one cause of death in an emergency, tornado, hurricane, flood, drought, number one cause of death is drinking contaminated water. Get yourself, this one down here will filter water for your whole neighborhood. That's the one that I have. Okay, back to the articles. So Panera Bread is now to introduce palm scanners next month, and that will store its customers' biometric data for its loyalty program and cashless payment system. I'm so glad we aren't having to carry that big old heavy credit card in our billfold or our purse anymore. Why, now we can just scan it with our palm. You know, they do think we're stupid. But the problem is, if you haven't read Revelation 13, if you don't know about the mark of the beast, all of this sounds like pretty good stuff. But if you had, you understand that this is where we're going. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about war and what's going on with Russia. This comes from a news site, War News, and I love this site. It says UFDEFCON 3, mass launch of nuclear missile detonation or detection vessels, along with ballistic submarines, and they fly 4E and 6B Mercuries. So it goes on to say what happened is extremely rare and indicates that a major nuclear crisis is brewing with either Russia or China. Information indicates that the ROS-5 has probably been activated, and if this is the case, we're talking about a DEFCON 3 situation. In other words, very close to war. Russia warns the U.S. at home. You are bringing nuclear Armageddon to yourself. It says Western countries led by the United States have decided to put humanity on a dangerous line behind which threatens nuclear Armageddon. It says the U.S. in its home of what is coming if something does not change. In other words, they're saying, America, you're causing this problem. You're starting a war with Russia, just like Dmitry Duduman was told like back in 1997. Deadly weapons are constantly delivered to Ukraine, killing civilians and destroying residential areas, schools, hospitals, and kindergarten. And now comes depleted uranium munitions. Quote, it seems that the West, led by Washington, has decided to bring humanity to a dangerous border beyond which lies nuclear Armageddon. So, we've talked about this many times. If they're trying to destroy America, and they are, they can try to destroy it from within as much as they can. Things like crashing the dollar, food shortages, removing the gasoline, and things like that. But at the end of the day, they have to get another nation to attack us. How do they do that? They have to find a nation powerful enough to do that, and that would be Russia. Then they would have to make Russia angry enough to actually attack us. And that's what Russia is saying we are doing. Revelation of Medvedev says, we're going to make 1,500 tanks this year alone. And Ukraine is part of Great Russia. They say, this is Russia talking, this is our enemy. We have the best tanks in the world, and the West hates our independence. You know, when your enemy openly says, I have the power to defeat you, I have the power to kill you, it's probably a good idea to listen, but America's not listening. The West abhors the independence of Russia and China, and the coming decades will not be quiet as it tries to break up the Russian Federation into smaller, weaker states. In other words, Russia thinks America is trying to attack it. And the problem is, America is trying to attack it. America is starting the fight that is going to destroy our nation. Goes on to say Ukraine is part of Greater Russia. And what is that saying? It's saying that we're not going to stop. We are going to overcome and annex Ukraine. He said he sees no prospect of warming with Moscow's relations with the West. In other words, they don't see a way that they can become friends with America again. The Russians are angry at America. In my opinion, this T-90M tank is now the best tank in the world. It is definitely better than the Leopard, Challenger, Abrams tanks, including its tactical and technical data. Now, my guess is that Americans have not seen, they have not been in, they have not tested the tank he's talking about. My also guess is that the Russians, since the Abrams tank has been out, 20, 25 years, my guess they probably have one. They've definitely got all the drawings for it. They know what the Abrams tank can do. And they built one specifically to defeat it. My guess is the Russians are not kidding when they know they have the best missiles, they have the best tanks, the best submarines, the best of it. They know that they can defeat America. Russians grabbed Ukraine drone operating via Starlink. Okay, well, we've been saying, America's been saying, no, we're not using Starlink. This Elon Musk is saying, no, we're not using Starlink to direct the drones. And now Russia down one has proved, yes, America via Starlink is now in another way directly attacking America. So the nuclear gas pipeline, now the drones, and then now we're also sending men into via proxies into Ukraine. So Russia has 3 reasons to attack us already, in my opinion. Sunday morning, Norway sounded an alert. Advanced Russian submarines and missiles have now been detected in the North Sea. So may I suggest you get these 5 DVDs. Now, yes, you can get the physical DVDs. Normally about $150, you can get them for $100 at prophecyclub.com. But a better deal, you can watch all 5 of them, in a way, for free by going to watchprophecyclub.com. Here it is, right here. Watchprophecyclub.com. If you'll enter the promo code TPC2023, you get the first month free. You can cancel any time. Of course, we hope you don't cancel. But that means you can watch all 5 of these, all having to do with archaeology, Ark of the Covenant, Noah's Ark, Solomon's Temple. I promise, you have not heard most of this information. This is extremely good. And the best deal is to use this promo code, and you get a $20 deal off of the normally $200 a year. So it's only $180 to be able to access almost 300 DVDs anytime you want to from Prophecy Club. Took us 25 years to make the DVDs, and you can watch them all for $200. Well, now $180 a year, $200 or $20 a month. Also, I recommend you get this. This is the DVD that explains the pictures in this book. This book has Noah's Ark, Sodom and Gomorrah, Red Sea crossing. All of these are high resolution pictures. It looks like you have a copy of the original picture. So the book is the pictures, the DVD is the explanation. DVD $50, book is $75. You can get both of them for a gift of $100 at prophecyclub.com. You will love it. Best $100 you spent in a long time. prophecyclub.com. Also, I would suggest you choose. Do you want to feed a family member for $10,000 a year or $1,000 a year? Because most of your other in-time, long-term, emergency storage places cost you $9,000, $10,000 to feed one person for a year. But at Joseph Kitchen, they can show you how to do it for about $1,000 a year. What you want to do is order the machines package. That's the wherewithal to grind the berries, put it into a bread machine, push a button, 2 hours, 20 minutes later, you have a nice hot steaming loaf of whole wheat bread. And then you decide how much food you want to have. You want to have food for 2 people 1 year, 6 people 1 year, 1 person a year, 4 people a year, all of that at josephskitchen.com. And if you order wheat berries, normally they come in a brown paper bag, which might break, and it only has a shelf life of about a year. But when you get it from Joseph Kitchen, it comes in a nitrogen-packed 7-gallon pail. We can't guarantee it's good for 25 years, but probably. Go check josephkitchen.com. Also, if you want your car to start, if you don't want things in your house to be fried, if there is a nuclear event close to you, and 32 prophecies say one is coming, then I'll send you to empshield.com. It's something about the size of, about 2 cigarette packages. You peel off the sticky thing on the bottom of it, stick it underneath the hood of your car. They have videos show you how to put it on, and it is going to, according to what they say, stop an EMP attack so that your car still starts. So, if you want the $50 discount, use the promo code PROPHECY. Helps your Prophecy Club. And, in my opinion, one of the neatest things I've got in a long time is solar panels, a solar panel battery backup, and a generator, natural gas generator. And I got it from solarsurge.net. If you're in Arizona, California, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Nevada, Texas, Utah, or Virginia, go to solarsurge.net, use the promo code PROPHECY. It gets you some kind of a discount. I don't know how it is there. But anyway, I love my solar system. I absolutely love it. I find myself looking at my cell phone several times a day. It is so cool. I push on it, like, for example, right now. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'm going to hold it up there. Right now, it is showing I'm pulling in 10.3 kilowatts. That's over 10,000 watts of power onto into my house. And then it's bringing down 1.4 kilowatts my house is using, but the rest of it either puts up to the electrical or it puts it to the battery. Go check it out, solarsurge.net. Terry Saka, cornerstone assetmetals.com. So why should people go online or call you today?
Seymour Hersh, an amazing investigative journalist, laid out the case that the United States is the one that blew up the Nord Stream pipelines, hurting our very own allies. That is a nation that is desperate because their currency is on the verge of losing reserve status. That's not good for a United States dollar, and why we better be protected.
Terry Saka, cornerstoneassetmetals.com. Give him a call or go online today. cornerstoneassetmetals.com.